Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Friday, October the 6th, 2023. The reading today is from Paul's letter to the Galatians, the first chapter, verses 6 through 10. Paul writes, "I'm astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. Not that there is another gospel, but there are some who are confusing you and want to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should proclaim to you a gospel contrary to what we proclaim to you, let that one be accursed. As we've said before, so now I repeat, if anyone proclaims to you a gospel contrary to what you have received, let that one be accursed. Am I now seeking human approval or God's approval? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still pleasing people, I would not be a servant of Christ." We've been talking about biblical servanthood. According to the authors of Life Keys, the fifth principle of biblical servanthood is this: following God's leading does not result in the world's approval. What will surely result is your own fulfillment as an instrument of God. Someone once wrote the following about a servant's attitude. They said, "People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do it anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help but may attack you if you do help them. Help them anyway. Give the world the best you have and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway." Remember, Jesus followed God's leading, and more perfectly than we could ever imagine, and yet he was nailed to the cross for it. And therefore, should we really expect anything else or anything better whenever we strive to do God's will? As Paul acknowledged in today's reading, there are always those who will try to confuse us and distort or pervert the gospel. But we should not concern ourselves with seeking human approval or trying to please other people. As he wrote, "If I were still pleasing people, I would not be a servant of Christ." And finally, the sixth principle of biblical servanthood is this: the right place for you to serve is where God calls you to serve, whether far away or right where you are. Pastor Wayne Cordero, who I mentioned yesterday, writes in his book, Doing Church as a Team, about a woman in his church named Netta. Some time ago, Pastor Cordero was hosting a gathering of pastors, and he asked his secretary, Carol Ann, if she could put some pitchers of water out on the tables and enough cups for the dozen pastors who were invited. Well, Carol Ann, he writes, is outstanding at recruiting people according to their gifts. And so instead of doing something just to get by, she called Netta. Now, Netta's gift is hospitality, he says. And so when Carol Ann asked if she wouldn't mind coming in and preparing the room, Netta was overjoyed. She quickly went to work picking fresh flowers and lining the tables with beautiful tablecloths. She filled water pitchers with ice-cold water and placed a scarf on each pitcher as if they were to be judged in competition. Selected nuts in little bowls were neatly spaced on the tables with candies and napkins adorning each place setting. The whole room took on a new appearance, and the aroma of fresh coffee, bagels, and pastries filled the air. Netta spent a full day preparing the room and making sure that the ambiance was just right. And what's more, she loved doing it. As Pastor Cordero writes, when I walked into that room the morning of the meeting, I thought I had stumbled onto a photo shoot for Better Homes and Gardens. It was absolutely stunning. The visiting pastors felt so special that I would take the time to organize such a beautiful setting for their meeting. Well, all the credit went to Netta. Frankly, if it were left to me, there would have been a few paper cups on each table so that they could retrieve their own water from the fountain downstairs. After the meeting, Netta came up and asked, do you think you might be having any more of these soon. I just love doing these things. Well, this is what servanthood is really all about. Doing what we love to do right where God has called us to do it. The authors of Life Keys close this chapter with the following observation. God calls some of you to leave your boats and embark upon a whole new life as his servant. Some of you might stay in your current roles, yet make other life choices that allow you to serve in new ways. Still others of you may find that the next season of your life brings together what God has been placing in your heart all along. Whatever your personal path, God has chosen it to fit your way of life, your giftedness, your own life keys. Let God fill your nets as he shows you those good works already chosen for you. Well, that finishes this Life Key number 8. We're going to kind of wrap up the whole Life Keys process beginning tomorrow on Saturday and then finishing up with it next week. But for now, take care. Hope you can join us for these final few sessions, these final few devotions on Life Keys. Till then, take care. Bye now.